Hello, I'm Jared Discord. Welcome to another deck profile. On this set one, we're going to be doing the Predaplant deck profile. One of my more favorite casual decks in the game, but I think I've made a pretty good competitive version of it, and that's what I want to show you guys today. So, without any further ado, let's get this started. On to the monsters, well, the Petabyte Monsters, rather. We're playing one copy of Predaplant Justifiable Hydra, which is basically a kaiju, and you can also banish a Predaplant while it's in the graveyard or on the field to make a monster lose 500 attack. Very good monster. I play just one copy because you don't really need it that much, but it has a bit of like surprise factor where this deck kind of relies on. We play 3 copies of Predaplant Spider. You can set it, getting it attacked, and then get a Predaplant out of it, or you can just normal summon it, get a Predator counter, use something like Preda Practice, get a Commedio Sundew Infuse, or something like that. You can do a lot of stuff with that. Because when it's summoned, you put a Predator counter, and then if it battles, you can summon a Predaplant from your deck. 3 and 2 of Predaplant, Orpha Scorpio, and Dark Antonia Cobra, respectively, the best monsters in the deck. If Orpha Scorpio is normal or special summon, so something you can do with Prayer Practice, you can send a monster in your hand, special summon a Predaplant from your deck, which generally is Dark Antonia Cobra. With Dark Antonia Cobra, you can just add a Poly or Super Polymerization, which there are other options like Red Eye Fusion, but you don't need it. Just generally Super Polymerization or Poly. And you can go from there. Or hell, you can Instant Fusion because we play that. Moving on to the Predaplant Monsters, we play 3 copies of Commedio Sundew, which basically lets you, it's a on-field fusion effect, but you can fuse monsters in your hand field or if your opponent's monsters have Predator counters. And the monsters with Predator counters that your opponent controls are treated as dark. So it lets you just summon Starving Venom or something like Dragoon Stapelia, or just these really random monsters. So I really like Commedio Sundew. You can even use it in decks not even are Predaplant. You can play it with something like Cubics. I've seen versions of, which I actually think is a really good version of, not good, but a very interesting version of Cubics. For the last Predaplant, we played Predaplant Sarosianat. Let me level with you. At some point, I'm gonna mispronounce one of these Predaplant names. I probably already have, but this is most likely the one. Predaplant Sarosian, I'm just gonna call it Sarosian. We play 3 copies of Predaplant Sarosian. It's a Battle Fader-esque effect because if you attack it, or if you do a direct attack, you can summon Sarosian. It battles the monster, then the monster gets destroyed, and when it dies, you get to add a Predaplant card, or a Predap, which is, again, generally Preda Practice. I'll get to Preda Practice momentarily. It's a good one. On to the non-Predaplant monsters, we play 3 copies of Lone Fire Blossom. You can read it, you just tribute it, especially when a plant monster. So you go through all 3 of your Lone Fire Blossoms, then you summon Orpha Scorpio. So in doing that, you get basically 4 monsters out of your deck. Technically 5, because you'll get the initial Lone Fire. So 1, 2, 3. You discard a monster, 4. You get 4 monsters out of your deck during that combo, and then you get a polymerization. So 5 cards. That's like what? 30, 35, 40. It's like an eighth of your deck is gone immediately. So yeah, or Lone Fire Blossom, very strong monster. It's almost gonna assuredly get infinite permanence, Ash Blossom, Call by the Grave, etc. But we worry about that when that happens. Moving on to the last monster in the deck, and the only non-plant monster, we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Generally you play it in every deck you can. There's certain decks I wouldn't recommend it in that basically it would be useless in, it would just basically be dead weight. But by and large, if you have Ash Blossom, you use it. On to the spell cards, we play 3 copies of Lure of Darkness. You draw 2 cards, banish 1. You could theoretically play Pot of Desires. I wouldn't with this deck because you could, but it just doesn't really help your case as much as Lure of Darkness does. I would prefer if there was more banish synergy with the dark monsters, but you can't have it all. So Lure of Darkness is a good card. It's also a budget card specifically if that matters to you. I'm going to go on with the rest of the regular spell cards before we get to the fusions. The only other spell card we have that's not fusion or Predaplant based is Call by the Grave. Well, this card, one of my favorite cards in the game. It can be used defensively and offensively. You banish a monster, its effects are negated, and monster that name's effect is negated. Keep in mind though that works for both players. So if you happen to go up against an opponent, if you're playing Lone Fire Blossom, you're supposed to play Lone Fire Blossom, you can't use your Lone Fire Blossom as well. So keep that in mind. We'll move on to the fusion spells. We play one copy of Instant Fusion. It's generally just used for minimize restrict for spot removal. But I mean, it's searchable, so might as well play one copy. Play 2 copies of Polymerization. You know, it's a fusion deck, you play Polymerization. You don't really need it with Chlamydia Sundew, but it gives you that extra fusibility, that's a word. The extra option to fuse. The last 3 fusion spell cards we play is Super Polymerization. Yes, it's the best one. You don't even need to play Predaplant specifically, but you can, to summon Starving Venom. But you can summon Starving Venom, you can summon Trifile Vetrum, you can summon Dragon's Tapelia, you can summon Chimera, but I can't speak that fast, you can summon Chimera Raffalacia. Summon it all. So that's, yeah, you play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. On to the last 4 spells, which are all Predaplant based. You play 3 copies of Predator Practice. You special summon a Predaplant from your hand, then you add a Predaplant from your deck. But you cannot special summon monster except for fusion monsters the rest of the turn. And you only activate 1 per turn. If the backlash is relatively strong because you can't do stuff like Verti Anaconda, but you get you summon a Predaplant, you special summon a Predaplant, then you get a Surge. So that's just fantastic. It's a very unique card, and you can generally get stuff like Predaplast or get Chlamydia Sundew. As I said before, a good combo is Spinodonia with Chlamydia Sundew and Predator Practice. You get a 3-card combo, but you can still do stuff. If you want to make it even simpler, something to do with the Orpha Scorpio thing, you can just get Super Polymerization, make all that, make it even easier. But the deck is very interlocked, I'll put it like that. So yeah, of course, play 3 copies. You can also just get Predator Practice and add Predaplast, which Predaplast is a lot more simple. You reveal any number of Predaplant monsters in your hand, or Predap cards, so theoretically you can reveal another copy of Predator Practice if you have it. And then all monsters your opponent controls get a Predator counter. And then if a Predaplant monster gets destroyed, you can bash it instead. So it has that extra effect, for a little spicy random situation where that's relevant. Again, generally it's for the first effect, because you can do stuff where you can just use Chlamydia Sundew with Predaplast, turn 1 to 2 monsters give 1 to 2 monsters Predator counters, and then wipe the entire field to summon Trifile Vetrum with Chlamydia Sundew's effect. So do not understate how important that card is. I played 1 because it's searchable with Predator Practice, and you don't really need it because its effect does not actually actively help you. It's good in conjunction with other cards, so I played 1. So that's my explanation. And then for our 3 trap cards, or 1 copy, 3 copies of 1 card, we play 3 copies of Infinite Permanence, because, you need help with this deck, I'll put it like that. As calmly as I can put it, you need help with the deck. On to the extra deck, we play 1 copy of Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon. Basically, you can target a monster on the field, make attack 0, negates effect, and then you can just attack into it 3300. And then if it dies, you can banish a dark level 8 monster from your graveyard and bring it back. Really cool. We played 1 copy of Predaplant Trifile Vetrum, or Overredum. I don't know. I'm gonna call it Trifile Vetrum. When your opponent special monster, you can from the extra deck you can negate the summon and destroy it, and then if your opponent controls the monster with a Predator counter, you can just special summon it back, and it gains attack equal to the combined original attack of all monsters with Predator counters. So, good monster. Play 2 copies of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, generally just for Super Polymerization, but it works by itself because the entire deck is kind of geared to summon it. I play 1 copy of Dragon's Tapelia. Basically, it's a quick effect. You can put counters, and then while they have counters, their effects are negated, essentially. They're activated effects, rather. We play 2 copies, which actually is relatively good against something like Red Eyes Dragoon. We play 2 copies of Predaplant Chimera Raffalacia. So basically, if a monster has a lower level than it, you can banish it once per turn. And then if it battles a monster, it becomes 35, the opponent's monster loses 1,000 attack. And if it dies, you get Polymerization. So, alright. Our last fusion is Millennium Eyes Restrict. Again, it's just for spot removal with instant fusion, but it's a generally cool monster, so I like it. Onto the links, we'll go through the links like in themes. We play the Nightmare Engine, 1 copy of Unicorn, 1 copy of Phoenix, 1 copy of Cerberus. We play 1 copy of Aromaseraphy Jasmine because it basically turns every monster into a Lone Fire Blossom. You contribute a monster, especially on a plant from your deck, and then if you gain life points, which will never come up excluding Upstart Goblin, you can add a plant. So alright. And then our last one is Cross Sheath, which it actually has the best, the fusion effect is the best effect by a long shot. where you can special on level 4 lower monster from graveyard, so you can summon something like Orpha Scorpio back. So yeah, definitely, if you were to use the effect, probably be that one. And our last two monsters in the extra deck is 2 copies of Predaplant Verti Anaconda. All I need to say for this monster, I'm sure you know what this monster does. If not, you can read it. Make sure to use the first effect as well. The one where you can target one monster on the field and make it dark. Because you can do so much with that, it's important to do it. As long as the monster's not literally unaffected by card effects, you can take basically any monster. Because you can just use Super Poly. Or Red Eyes Fusion. So, moving on to the side deck, that's a great segue. I'm sure you've been looking at it. This is just an optional engine you can play in this deck. You can take out any 3 cards and a card from your extra deck, and you can take out Millennium Eyes Restrict, Instant Fusion, and I don't know, 2 more cards, and you can make this little engine work. And it's the Red Eyes Dragoon engine. I've actually played this version pretty heavily specifically, and I think it's strong. It just makes the deck a little bit too one-dimensional. Specifically Predaplant. Red Eyes Dragoon, any other deck you can use it and use it to great effect. But with Predaplant, you kind of are limited. And if you aren't familiar, you're basically just summon. You have 1 copy of Dark Magician, 1 copy of Rise Black Dragon, and Red Eyes Fusion. You basically summon any of these Predaplant monsters. Use Verti Anaconda, use its effect to send Red Eyes Fusion, using its effect to send Black Dragon and Dark Magician to summon Red Eyes Dragoon. Red Eyes Dragoon cannot be targeted, cannot be destroyed, can negate monster effects, it gains 1,000 attack when it negates card effects. It can destroy monsters, non-targeting by the way, and do burn damage. Yeah, it has a lot. It can do it multiple times too if you use normal monsters. So yeah, it has a lot. So it gives you a good first turn play, but that's it. I mean, there are ways to stop Dragoon of Red Eyes. So, and I don't want to kind of put all my eggs in that basket because again, it's Predaplant. They don't have as much ability to do other things because generally you try to summon Dragoon is like the last thing you do with Verti Anaconda. But with this deck, that kind of would just be your only play, and it's a strong monster, very very strong. What's the word? Lockdown monster. I would almost say like its presence is felt, but I think it just makes the deck a bit too one dimensional. So it is an option. That's all I'll say. So that's my deck profile. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like and maybe subscribe. I appreciate the heck out of it. If you guys have any constructive criticism, leave it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, I'm Jared Discord, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.